It's the evening of the 2nd of April, 2015, in Hatton Garden, London. A lift stops on the second floor. A group of men force the doors open and climb down the empty shaft. This is how it unfolded. To understand how it worked, you need three things: a 4-day weekend, a wall, and an alarm that nobody answered. Hatton Garden is London's jewelry quarter. For more than a century, it has been the center of the British diamond and gold trade. The safe deposit vault at 88 to 90 Hatton Garden did not serve a bank. It served the street. The boxes inside it belonged to jewelers, dealers, and small traders working within a few hundred meters of the door. What people kept in them was stock. In 2015, Easter fell late. Good Friday was the 3rd of April. Easter Monday was the 6th. For 4 consecutive days, the quarter would be shut. The men went in on the evening of the 2nd, the last night before that window opened. The court would later hear that the core group ranged from their mid-50s to 76 years old. The oldest man was 76. Several had criminal records going back decades. What they took was valued at approximately £14 million. Estimates vary, and the figure has been revised more than once. The wall they had to get through was around 50 centimeters of reinforced concrete. So how do you get through half a meter of concrete without anyone stopping you? You start by not using the door. According to the account presented in court, the men entered through the building's communal areas on the evening of the 2nd. They disabled the lift on the 2nd floor, forced the doors, and climbed down the shaft by hand into the basement. The vault door was never touched. They went around it. At some point after midnight, the intruder alarm activated. The signal transmitted. A security guard was dispatched and arrived at the building. He checked the exterior. He did not go inside. A call was made to police, and no officers were sent. The alarm worked. The system worked. Nobody went inside. The Metropolitan Police would later publicly acknowledge that the response that night was a failure, and an internal review followed. So the men had the building, and now they had the weekend. Prosecutors said they used an industrial diamond core drill, a Hilti DD350, mounted on a rig against the vault wall. The technique was not one large hole. It was a cluster of overlapping bores, drilled beside each other until the concrete between them gave way. 50 centimeters of reinforced concrete. It took hours, and then they were through. The wall was never the problem. The cabinet was, on the far side of the hole, inside the vault, stood a metal cabinet. It sat flush against the opening. The court heard that the men pushed, and it did not move. After everything, the shaft, the alarm, the drilling, they could not get past a piece of basement furniture. They withdrew with nothing. What happened next is the part that no one would write into fiction. They came back. Prosecutors said that on the Saturday there was an argument, and that some of the group wanted to abandon the job entirely. They did not. Over the following day, they obtained additional lifting equipment. On the Sunday night, the 4th of April, they returned to the same building, went down the same shaft, and went back to the same hole. This time, the cabinet moved. One by one, they went through. Inside, they opened around 70 safe deposit boxes. Gold, diamonds, jewelry, cash. The court heard that the contents were carried out in wheeled bins, the kind used for rubbish, taken up out of the basement and loaded away before the quarter reopened. Nobody found the vault until Tuesday the 7th of April, when staff returned from the Easter weekend. Inside that basement, the men had left almost nothing useful. No workable fingerprints, no usable DNA on the equipment. The forensic discipline was, by the standard of the crime, close to total. But Hatton Garden is a street in central London, and central London is filmed continuously. Traffic cameras in the surrounding roads had recorded a white Mercedes moving in and out of the area on the relevant nights. The vehicle was traced to a registered owner. Police fitted a listening device to the car. Conversations were recorded. On the 19th of May, 2015, arrests were made. They left no fingerprints in the vault. They left no DNA in the vault. They left a car on the street. That is how the case was solved. Not by anything recovered from the hole in the wall, but by a number plate and a microphone. The group's craft inside the basement was close to perfect. Outside it, They were moving through the most heavily monitored square mile in Britain in a vehicle registered to a real person. The men were tried and convicted. The sentences ran to years. But the second half of the outcome is the part that did not resolve. Most of what came out of those boxes has never been recovered, and the people it was taken from were not a bank. They were jewelers and traders working on that street, and a significant number of them were holding stock in those boxes that was not insured. For them, the conviction did not return anything. More than a decade on, the bulk of the gold and the diamonds taken out of that basement has not appeared. Not at auction, not with a dealer, not on any exchange. The men who did it were caught, tried, and sentenced. Most of what they took was not. It has never surfaced at any auction, any dealer, any exchange. Somewhere, it is still in a box.